Today's video is about my wedding quilt. And this is what my wedding quilt looks like today. But I'm going to show you some pictures of what my wedding quilt looked like on my wedding day. So I made this quilt to be a backdrop for the wedding, and it hung on a fireplace right where the ceremony took place. And I had very little quilting training before this, and so the construction of this quilt was not great. You can sort of see it in this photo, and it didn't hang flat, and it wasn't really quilted. And so after the wedding, I disassembled the quilt, and I was not quite sure at that point what I was going to do with the parts. All the pink squares that I had put in the quilt, I decided I didn't really want a pink wedding quilt. And so I just started cutting those up and sewing them together in a patchwork of checkerboard type pattern. But after I put that all together, I was like, I don't really want just a pink squares quilt. So again, I folded that up and put it in the box. And then the next thing that happened was during the pandemic, I found the pieces that made up my face and my husband's face. And now that you can see, these components were embroidered with a lot of stitching. I had also embroidered the skirt that I'm wearing in the quilt. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna put this together back into a quilt format. And so I decided what I would like was a denim scrappy background, which is more my taste now and more neutral and goes with my decor. And so I took pieces of denim that I had left over from other denim projects, and I sewed them together, and you can see I hand quilted it and put my husband and I on this. So this quilt now is what hangs in our house. But I still had left over all these pink squares. And so over the holidays, I decided, okay, finally I'm going to deal with these. I'm going to make them into something. So the first project that I made was a few doll-sized quilts. And I don't have a child who wants a doll-sized quilt right now, but I'll probably give them away at some point. And you can see here I am hand sewing, hand quilting the quilt. And so I made two little tiny quilts. These are like for dolls. And I think the pink squares lend themselves for a doll quilt. And you can see the construction is fairly simple. I just hand quilted around the squares and then used the same backing as the binding, wraparound binding. So this is one of the things I'm making from the pink squares that used to be in my wedding quilt. It's like a storage box, and I already made one, and I'm working on the second one now. And so the way I make that is I took a bunch of the pink squares and I sewed them together, and they aren't perfectly joined in every spot, but I'm satisfied. And then I have this interfacing that's kind of like cardboard. It's thicker, and I just pin the pieces down, and then you could machine quilt it down, but I love hand quilting down. It's very relaxing to me. You can see there's my little stitches that I'm doing. And once I get 5 panels ready, I've got a bunch done here, then I put a binding on them. There's another video where I show how I do this, and then I hand sew them together. Oh, I also put like a solid fabric on the other side and also hand quilt that down. So that is one of the things that's going to happen to the pink squares in my wedding quilt. I'll show you inside. It looks pretty cool. Whee! So I tried to use up all the pink squares from our wedding quilt. So in this case, I didn't have quite enough to line the entire basket. So I supplemented with some other pink scraps from my stash. And for this one, you can see there's only pink squares on the bottom, but the sides are also from my stash. The inside sides. The outsides are all scrappy. And actually this fits inside this one. So I love using these types of storage baskets for holding my fabric or other things around my house and for organizing stuff. So I wanted to share that story because, first of all, I don't think just because you make something for your wedding, you have to keep it that way. You should be comfortable reinventing it and re-sewing it the way you like it. And also, I think that, it's really good to get things out from boxes and drawers and get them into a usable format so that you can enjoy them every day. So I hope that inspires you to finish up an old project that you had either started or didn't finish, or you took it apart because you didn't really like how it turned out in the first place.